What's going on, everyone? So I launched this video last night, but here's the thing, my audio was just not recording. I had to unplug and reinstall everything again, and now it's picking up. I'm so annoyed about this. Like, it's just messing up everything. But let's get into this. PlayStation forced Microsoft to give up Xbox exclusives, just said. Now here's the thing about this, guys. That's very true. Sony definitely beat them consistently, but Microsoft also consistently shot themselves in the foot by making stupid choices. Everybody knows this, right? So it's a combination of what Sony did. Obviously, they outclassed them, and I'm going to explain some things here in a second. But Microsoft also, like I said, made it easy for them by consistently stepping on landmines and destroying pro-consumer patterns where they could have had it going very well for them. But no, they messed it all up. So obviously, Sony outplayed them. Everybody knows that they outsmarted them, they outmoney-hatted them, that they massively monopolized to stay relevant to certain degrees. But Microsoft, in a lot of ways, destroyed themselves. And I want to add in some other things because even though Sony was winning in certain categories, Xbox could have stayed relevant with its own identity. Let me explain this. Let's go back to the 360 round. You guys remember that? Yeah, let's talk about that. And let me tell you why this is important. I don't know if you remember those days where Xbox was winning those MPDs in North America. They were winning a lot. Though Sony was getting worldwide in Europe and in Japan and other categories. But the thing was, Xbox was winning in a lot of ways. But were they winning the whole thing worldwide? No, Nintendo was. They had 102 million Wii sold and 154 million DSs or 256 million install base. They completely dominated. You could add a PlayStation and Xbox together, and they're still almost 100 million short. That's how much Nintendo dominated. But everybody was still winning in their own way with their own identity. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're losing in that aspect. You still could be winning in a lot of ways. And this is what I mean by, like, Sony could have forced Microsoft to give up in a certain way, but Microsoft could have stayed relevant if they would have made a lot better choices, if they wouldn't have had Don Mattrick be a moron, and if they wouldn't have made those dumb decisions in the Xbox One era, and if they would have made those decisions this year. You see what I mean? Where they had a certain route to push to have their own identity. But guess what? They are destroying themselves, not just Sony doing that. And they're making it easier for Sony. That's what I mean. So you could have had Nintendo win that whole thing by miles, man. They completely dominate. But they all were also winning as well, too. And PlayStation beat Xbox in the end. But Xbox is still winning in North America in a lot of ways, in its own territory. So that's what I mean by, like, yeah, you could still do that, but you could still get your own wins and improve internally and still stay massively relevant. And that could benefit the gaming industry in a lot of ways. If you kind of get what I mean, that's a way to look at it. So I get what Jez is showing, but I had to add that in, too, because Microsoft also destroyed themselves. Now it wants to destroy Xbox at cloud gaming and Xbox Play Anywhere cross-buy as well. Yes. Sony's definitely doing a better job with that, considering that they don't have nowhere near the money they have, and Microsoft should be being way more pro-consumer with the cloud. You shouldn't have to get the highest tier to get all those benefits. You shouldn't. But, you know, and with that 30% profit margin, do you see them trying to match that? I don't think so. I think Sony's just going to get the better deal. As I've shown people before, you can get that PlayStation right now for $600 something with 2 years of premium, whereas 2 years of Game Pass is $720. And sometimes Sony puts the premium on sale for 25% off. You can get 2 years of premium for $240, whereas 2 years of Game Pass is $720. Like I said, with tax, you want to get an Xbox with that, you're in like the $1,400 range. Terrible deal. You'd be better off just getting on PC. PlayStation Now Stream Your Own Game feature has over 8,000 titles. Yeah, utterly destroying Xbox's cloud gaming Stream Your Own Game feature. And they just came out with it. Why is that happening? You see what I mean? Well, see? And it's like I told you guys in that one video. You look at that thumbnail. They're almost beating them in all categories. I wasn't making that up. Jez is telling you the same thing. I'm just trying to be honest with you. Although it's limited to a specific piece of hardware, while Sony's preparing this for the PlayStation hardware, you still can do streaming on the PlayStation device, obviously. And then in the future, we see they may be bringing that cross-buy feature on PC, and it's going to be through the app. And then they're going to want to get the PC, buy my game still there, handheld, buy my game still there, console, buy my game still there, and keep that going into the PlayStation ecosystem. Though some people were thinking it was going to be on Steam, but Sony's not going to do that. They're not going to kill their market like that. Not that they even would still, but they're just not going to do that because there's no reason to do that. But it's going to be within their own ecosystem. I can guarantee you that. Like going down here, Halo is no longer exclusive to Xbox, and will no longer be exclusive to Xbox, even on cloud, it seems. It's the identity that's being gone. And you know what? I have no problem with Halo going to PlayStation. We all knew this was going to happen. It's just the way they did it. That's it right there. Xbox has fully surrendered to PlayStation or capitulated. Yeah, I don't have a choice. Halo itself will appear on PlayStation consoles this year, with Sony offering virtually zero reciprocity for its own games. Nice word there, Jess. In essence, PlayStation's ecosystem will have more to play than Xbox's own ecosystem. But Xbox has a lot of Xbox exclusive platform features that helps it stay unique. Well, one thing is that day and date. But we know how much that hurt the platform. They should have been more honest about that. And I think that would have helped their base more because then you know what's coming and you would have seen that 300 million loss after spending that for Activision. What's the point in taking that down to be more anti-consumer now because of that stupid move where it was kind of a curse? It was a Mighty Bird Ozark deal, if you guys have seen that. PC Xbox cross-buy with Xbox Play Anywhere, an industry-leading cloud gaming platform, undeniably expansive. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate Subscription Service featuring all first-party games on day one, including Call of Duty. You can buy that. I don't waste my time with that. But what if the refrigeration was about to evaporate? Like PlayStation dropping the bomb today with its handheld, revealing that its Portal PS5 remote play handheld is now capable of streaming thousands of PlayStation games you own from the cloud. No console required. This thoroughly beats Microsoft. Like you said, again, they're beating them. Stream your own games. Xbox Cloud Gaming feature, which only features roughly 1,000 games. And then back then, when I wanted to play games like Redfall, because remember when that came out, I thought it was going to be cool because I love my Vampire Worlds. Then you end up finding out that, man, this thing is 1080p. It's laggy. The latency is garbage. I'm choppy, moving all over the place. It just wasn't good. That should have never happened with Microsoft having that much money if you wanted to be industry leading in cloud and compute and data centers and all that other stuff. Meanwhile, Sony came along the way and their cloud service was better improved. Don't have nowhere near the money they have. Gave you 4K streaming right before they did it. They recently just now started doing it. And you're like, you see, you should be leading, but you're not leading in that. So that's the idea of PlayStation coming in to beat them at cloud and PC too. And being smarter and not killing their market. While Microsoft CEO worries about the impact of TikTok on Xbox, man, get out of here. Look, I'm going to tell you guys something. What if you were a sports player and you saw somebody going to play your sports game? Is that competing with your time, or you think that's a cooperative sync? That's all I'm gonna say about that. I want you to think about that, because that to me is not competing with time. That is a cooperative sync of benefiting each other in those worlds. There's a way to see that you could be a cooperative, where you could see a cooperative time sync rather than always you're taking my time for this and taking the time for that. Obviously, everything takes people's time. Your time is short. You can't buy that back, no matter what you do. But there needs to be head-to-head competition and categories that make more sense, that are intelligent, rather than just saying everything, because that's just, to me, a lazy way of doing it, and it's stupid. PlayStation is working to devour everything that makes Xbox unique. And they're doing it in a big way. Revealed on the PlayStation blog, the PlayStation Portal gains a ton of new functionality today in a big update. You see what I mean? He's being honest about this, where it's like, guys, we have to, because the only way to figure out to even match that or make them look better is if you know what's going on and you face reality and you're honest about it so you can know what you need to improve on. Other than that, you're just complacent and you're just being a sitting duck. The PlayStation Portal handheld caused head scratching when it first came out. Yeah, it was not good. But as I knew, Sony was going to not take that risk after the Vita. It's like Microsoft's not going to take that risk with their handheld, and you better do it the cheaper way. Let me try with an accessory. Because other than that, you're taking too much of a huge risk. Nintendo was just stomp things. It's bad timing. It's all about timing, and Nintendo are the masters of timing. I'm telling you, when it comes to competition and things in this world, timing is very important, and not doing things out of sync. That's where Sega messed up too much against Nintendo, and they executed. You can't mess up like that. Timing is very important. You know that. The $200 peripheral could only run games remotely from a PlayStation 5 with no support for apps or native play. However, Sony has worked hard to bolster its feature set since launch, and this latest upgrade does away with the need to own a PlayStation entirely. Now you can buy to own thousands of digital PS5 games and stream them from PlayStation Cloud service. Here's where they beat them again. You ready? The total number of games as of November 5th for PlayStation is 2,845. In Xbox Cloud Gaming, well, Sony also notes that you can stream these purchases games on PlayStation Plus PC app to no PlayStation Portal required. Guys, do we see that? So I want you to take a look at that. 2,845. That's beating Xbox's Cloud Gaming. It is. They have more titles available. But are you going to play all these? No. That's why I tell you, what is your interest in this? I recently tried PlayStation Cloud Array and found it to be quite solid on PC. Although not quite up to parity with the latest Xbox Cloud Gaming upgrades or NVIDIA GeForce Now, the interface could also use a ton of work. As when I last tested it, it didn't even support full screen. It does, however, have tons of exclusive titles that are available to stream, like Bloodborne. Don't mention that game, Jazz. Now you're cool. And that list is only set to grow as PlayStation continues to prioritize its own ecosystem over others, having its own identity. That type of stuff is important, guys. You know what I mean? I tell people this type of stuff, you know, all the time. So we see that 2,107 versus that 2,845. You have more options to play. And you have a $200 portal versus that 1,000 handheld if you want to do that. No contests. And it's only going to get better. So Xbox, by comparison, has given up entirely on exclusivity. You don't have a choice. You know what I mean? You can't do that. Your whole market would sink and die off. And nothing will work and you'd be way in the negative. So that's just not really going to work. So people are beginning to realize that they'll get more content on either Steam or PlayStation over Xbox's diminished content library. But Xbox has other different differentiators, right? Well, perhaps not for long. So you see this category, when you look at the value proposition, as I explained before, you can go get that console, right? And get that 2 years of premium and then use that on a portal. And it's no contest because you'll be spending more money on an Xbox and 2 years of Ultimate. You know, you'll be, dude, the value is not, that's what I'm saying. No. So, Amethyst on X recently revealed some data mine symbolism. This is where this went on. And like I said, I think what this means, I remember Alex saying day and date, but he was talking about Steam. And everybody was like, yeah, if that was the case, I didn't say day and date on Steam. But he was thinking, you know, PC's going to be day and date. You know what I mean? But nobody would have said it this way, where it would have been PlayStation's app within their own ecosystem with their handheld off. We didn't see that coming. Oh, but in a way, he was like, yeah, it's going to happen. But obviously, he was thinking Steam, and everybody else would have been thinking Steam too. Nobody's going to say it this way because that would have been a lie. I didn't say it was going to be day and date on Steam because I didn't believe that like that. Sony doesn't need to do that. Now, this method, obviously, nobody's seen this coming in that method. But this will be the method if that's the case within their own ecosystem. It's like you no matter where you're at on your PC or on your handheld device or on a TV living room, you're going to be within that PlayStation ecosystem supporting my game. So my market is open like that. That's the way of Sony seeing it after realizing you're not going to kill your hardware sales by having your games on PC. And you're mostly third party anyways for that extent for your success. So it gives you the idea of what that is. You know what I mean? And how that's going to function. And this, once again, is Sony outsmarting Microsoft because it's going to be within our ecosystem and be healthy. And it's not going to be destroying. It's all about timing, like I try to tell you, like in realizing things. Some things may have been way too early. So there it is right there, guys. This tag suggests the PlayStation exploring Xbox Play Anywhere like cross-buy ecosystem complete with the cross-buy PS5 PC tags that will be attached to PSN, the PlayStation Network store. Yeah, not Steam. With the next Xbox looking to be set to full-blown Windows, complete with support for Steam and other PC apps, PlayStation might be looking to build its own PC store. Steam takes 30% of all transactions sent through its own storefront. It would behoove Sony to offer Xbox users on the next generation ecosystem a direct way to buy games, bypassing Steam entirely to keep 100% of its revenue. Now, Microsoft going on PC, they're going to lose 100% possibly for that. You see what I mean? You're not in a position of Sony. They're outsmarting you massively. Microsoft's not going to even get no cut or nothing because you're just needing Steam. It would be incredibly smart on Sony's behalf in a universe where users have become more habitual with their devices and their ecosystems. That's their identity. That's their in-house. Meeting users on platforms that already exist in a strong play. So while Xbox coaches up on PlayStation, Sony is gunning for a total rut annihilation. He's right. So now we get this idea here, right? Where it's like all this and to it, that's just saying it because you have no identity. We get this idea here, guys. And now we know how things are going. Now you see what I mean. Now you see what Jez is saying. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think about this. Once again, though, are you going to be using these systems? Are they going to benefit you? Or do you just want to make the content? Because right now I'm trying to just make the content. And I'm being honest with you. I'm not going to use either. I'm not going to be fake. So there we have it, y'all. Peace out. Have a great day. You kind of get the idea here. You see, PlayStation is outsmarting Microsoft. And Microsoft is being dumb again. Later, y'all. It could be more pro-consumer with all that money. But you got somebody with way less money giving better services and quality. Peace.